Hello and welcome to the ISSP webinar, Defining Excellence for Sustainability Professionals, talking with some members of the ISSP credential holder community who are working in local government. I welcome all of you to this webinar. We will be recording it and sending copies of the slides out to everyone. So if you're going to ask that question, that's to give you the answer already. And first thing I want to do is introduce the members of our panel. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Doug?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Hi, I'm Doug Melnick, Chief Sustainability Officer with the City of San Antonio. Been here for 4 years. Prior to that, I was Director of Planning and Sustainability for Albany, New York, in upstate New York. Currently, our focus is on implementing our SA Tomorrow Sustainability Plan, which covers municipal operations as well as the community sector, and have begun working on a Paris-compliant climate action and adaptation plan, which we're currently trying to figure out what that means. Been involved with ISSP for the past year or so. I'm a certified Sustainability Associate through ISSP and currently serve on the board. And I look forward to talking more about the benefits that I've experienced through my participation.
Wonderful. Thank you. Jonathan?
Hi all, my name is Jonathan Gregory. I'm with the City of Denton in Texas. I'm the Conservation Program Coordinator here, doing lots of fun things with my sustainability team. We are going through an update to our comprehensive sustainability plan. It's been 5 years since we first passed that and have accomplished a lot over those last 5 years. Most recently, we have made a commitment to going to 100% renewable energy by 2020 and are doing our greenhouse gas inventories on an annual basis, and even got a star certified recently, a 3-star level. So a lot of great things happening here, and I'm excited to share our story.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jonathan. Kumar?
Yeah, hi everyone. Kumar Jenson. I am the Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Evanston, which is located just north of Chicago. I've been with the city for about 3.5 years, and I've been in the role as coordinator since May of 2017. I'm also wearing the hat as an advisory council member for Environmentalists of Color, which is a membership-based network of people of color in the environmental field throughout the country and world. And so with my role at the City of Evanston, what we're focusing on right now primarily relates to developing a new climate action and resilience plan for the community. And so that will be our first plan that melds both reducing carbon emissions with preparing for the impacts of climate change. With the Environmentalists of Color, a lot of what we're working on right now is launching as a formal organization and growing our membership base. I've been with ISSP, or I've been certified for, I think, a little under a year. And so looking forward to talking to you all about what that experience has been like.
Thank you, Kumar. And Drew?
Hello, everybody. My name is Drew Brick. I am the Environmental and Sustainability Program Manager with the City of Avondale, Arizona, which is just west of downtown Phoenix. And we're a city of about 85,000 people. We created our first sustainability plan in 2014, and since then we've been diligently working towards some of the goals. Some of the highlights, we're currently working on our LED streetlight replacement. So we're replacing 8,000 of our fixtures from high pressure sodium to LED. That'll save the city about 3 million kilowatt hours per year, or $200,000 off our utility bills. We're also doing a building efficiency retrofit project currently to replace our central plant chiller. And so those two projects combined will take a bite out of about 15% of our greenhouse gas emissions organization-wide. So we're pretty happy about that. In addition to that, we are working on a solar master plan for all our facilities to get some dates and targets in for installing solar here. And then we also have a big complete streets push, which includes primarily low impact development, so using rainwater harvesting techniques to keep our desert adapted plants alive here. As you can see on the screen, I have a master's degree in sustainability, and I'm just about to finish my MBA from ASU. I've been on the board with ISSP for about a year now, and have been with the city for about 4 years. So I'm looking forward to chatting more about what we got going on in Avondale and about ISSP. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Drew. So first I want to give everyone just a quick overview for those of you who are not familiar with ISSP, give you some information about ISSP, but then I really want to make it a panel discussion with our credential holders here to talk about how they got where they are and where they think they're going and how the credentials help them and help the field in general. So for those of you who are not familiar with ISSP, it began in 2008, and our mission is to empower professionals like you who are trying to make sustainability happen in organizations and communities around the world. The three general areas that we work on is empowering the professionals to provide education and professional development opportunities. We also are now with the Credential really helping to establish this profession and defining the standard of excellence for sustainability professionals, because there are lots of people working in this area who want to make sure that everyone understands what knowledge, skills, and abilities are necessary to really do a great job. But the foundation of what we do is really convening community, bringing together sustainability professionals in many different venues. So that's sort of what ISSP is all about. All of that goes together to forward our vision of making sustainability standard practice everywhere. Why we're doing the professional credential, there's several different reasons. One, that in order to provide cohesion and definition in the field, what is a sustainability professional? What is sustainability? What does it mean to be moving things forward? But also for individuals like you all who are working in the field to give you the credibility and opportunities for career advancements by having a professional credential showing that you know what it is needs to be done. For the organizations who are hiring sustainability professionals, we want them to be able to have some level of assurance that the people that they're hiring have the right skills and knowledge and abilities. And then also to close the loop, we want to make sure that people who are educating sustainability professionals are working to give them the right knowledge, skills, and abilities and guidance. So that's sort of the general reason why professional credentialing matters. What do we consider a sustainability professional? We figure it's anyone who's spending at least 25% or more of their time planning, implementing, managing, evaluating, and reporting on sustainability efforts. And this can include people who are internal practitioners. They're working within one organization, like the panelists I have today, to move that organization towards more sustainable practices. It could also be external consultants, people who work with many different organizations to help them all. And there's an incredibly wide variety of job titles that someone might have in sustainability, and the job title might actually be Director of Sustainability or Sustainability Manager, but there's many other titles that they could have that they don't specifically speak to sustainability in the title, but that's part of what they do for their job. They could be a marketing manager, an urban planner, a procurement manager, facilities manager. So many of those people are doing things related to sustainability, and having those credentials will help them in their profession, and also getting those professions will make sure that they have the knowledge, skills, and abilities. And really what it comes down to is that a true sustainability professional can go into any organization, public or private, in any industry, to assess the sustainability risks and opportunities to move them towards more sustainable practices. Now, there are two credentials that ISSP has to meet the needs of professionals at any level. The Sustainability Associate Credential is for new and aspiring professionals who will be moving on to the Certified Sustainability Professional level, but it's also for people who are in what we call allied fields, someone who sustainability isn't the primary focus of what they do, but it's included in their job description. So if somebody's in purchasing, operations, marketing, human resources, facilities management, all of those organizations are allied functional areas with sustainability. So many people could use the Sustainability Associate credential. For those people who see their position as being primarily sustainability, we have the Certified Sustainability Professional credential. Does require that you have 5 or more years of sustainability experience. The exam is based on the core competency study that we've done and the follow-up job task analysis. Those reports are available on our website. But essentially, the Sustainability Associate exam looks at core sustainability concepts. Do you know what sustainability means? Can you communicate that? Do you know what the basic tools are to do sustainability? Then for the Certified Sustainability Professional, after you pass that exam, you then take an exam for that includes the other 5 domains having to do with things like the stakeholder engagement, planning sustainability, analyzing sustainability, implementing, and then reporting and evaluating sustainability. So those are the basic concepts that are covered in the exam. In order to maintain the credential, this is a professional credential, it's not just a certificate of completion. You need to do continuing professional development, and there's some guidelines for that on our website. You have to do things like take additional courses, but it's also you get credential maintenance credit through having a job in sustainability or being involved in sustainability organizations like ISSP. This also gives you opportunities to build bridges with other people who are working on sustainability so you can work together and share best practices. So that's an overview. If people have questions about the credentialing process or about ISSP, please put them in the chat box and we'll come back to those towards the end of the webinar. But right now what I'd like to do is start a conversation with our panelists. And specifically, I'd like to have each of them talk about the journey that they've been on and how they've gotten to where they are as a sustainability professional. So Doug, why don't you start off? Tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming the Chief Sustainability Officer at the City of San Antonio.
Sure. And I'll start by saying it wasn't planned by any means. My undergrad work was in English and philosophy, for whatever that's worth. And then went to grad school for environmental biology, got into the land conservation field, started working for some other nonprofits and sort of urban sustainability, got tired of the nonprofit sector and began working in local government doing basically land use work. So I've always sort of had a background and interest in environmental and sustainability issues. And then while in Albany as director of planning, I don't remember how many years ago, we were approached by some folks from Issp to try to get our mayor to start making some commitments around some climate commitments. And from that point, I just sort of designated myself the sustainability director and created a department without any additional staff or resources. But looking back at where Albany is now, it's ingrained. And so I was at a key point in my career about 4 years ago where I was looking to move to a bigger city, and I could have gone in the planning side or the sustainability side, and was interviewing for planning director positions and sort of chief sustainability positions or sustainability director positions, and chose to go with sustainability because I like the interdisciplinary aspect of it, and the ability to really try to problem solve, and being in an office whose job is to help facilitate sort of different thinking across the organization and around the community. And so that's sort of, I think, the strength of all the folks on this call today. It's difficult to pin down what sustainability is, and I think each community needs to determine what that is, and each organization needs to determine what it is. But I think everybody on the call is sort of the change managers of their organization, and really trying to figure out how to get the organization looking beyond the annual budget cycle and looking out 20, 40, 60 years.
Thank you, Doug. Jonathan, you want to go next? What was your story? How did you get to be a sustainability professional?
Yeah, thanks, Maureen. I'd say I've been pretty well entrenched in the sustainability field ever since my, first year into the workforce. I actually got involved with an eco-friendly startup during my senior year of college, and being in the entrepreneurial school of the business department, I really was focusing on startups and helping do business planning, strategic planning, all that fun stuff. But I had the great opportunity to be a part of what we termed the Earth-Friendly Department Store. It was really first of its kind, more or less, and we had an online presence that gave us the scope to reach, a national and even international audience. And it was through those experiences that I really just entrenched myself with all things sustainability. A lot of the principles that are included in the ISSP exam are things that I was picking up on, from an early age, and really just got hooked with it all, and, loved learning about fair labor practices and low impact materials, resource conservation, cradle to cradle philosophies, all sorts of different topic areas. And, was becoming basically an ambassador and a resource for conscious consumers at an early age, and got involved with a green business trade association in my hometown. This was based in New Hampshire, and did a lot of really cool things with helping nonprofits get started up, and really just getting involved with my local community. That eventually expanded into another startup opportunity that I was involved with in the solar industry. And so I really got my feet wet in the energy sector and helped grow the renewable energy industry there in New England, in New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts mainly. Was a part of a great organization there that is getting recognized on a national level right now, and just really proud of the work that we were doing, helping homeowners and businesses and governments understand the value of making investments in a renewable energy future, and really just getting involved in those conversations of, the triple bottom line. It's not just going to be a savings for you and a good investment opportunity, but it's helping with all the other social and environmental aspects in the same run. So moving forward, my wife and I relocated here to Texas. That's why I am here on this panel discussion today. I took an opportunity with city government here, had previously worked as an advisor to city council. So I had an interest in local government, and when an opportunity arose here with the city of Denton to get involved with the conservation coordinator position, doing all the greenhouse gas inventories and benchmarking and sustainability metrics, it was just seemed like a great opportunity, and just has been a real blessing for me, because I've learned so much more about the scope of sustainability here. So it's been kind of a wild ride for me so far, being involved in small business and bigger business and nonprofits and local government, and just really excited to be a part of the movement and just continue to learn. And ISSP has just been a great network to support that.
Great. Thank you, Jonathan. Kumar, how did you get to be a sustainability professional?
Yeah, so I grew up in rural Ohio. I grew up on a small, fairly hippie commune. And so I'd say some sort of traditional environmental things were a part of my life from a very early age, and I didn't necessarily think of them as they relate to systems or sort of the wider world. It just sort of seemed like that's what my parents were doing, and that's what the neighbors were doing. Composting, growing a lot of our own food, and so growing up, I didn't really have a whole lot of recognition that was something that other people were striving to do, or even didn't have access to do. And so as I went through college and in high school, I sort of started to get some language to talk about that kind of upbringing and that type of lifestyle. And so in college, I majored in environmental studies and focused on sort of economics and policies because I started to become much more interested in sort of systems and institutional decision making. And so it seemed like the sustainability folks were the ones who were talking about how systems work and how they don't work and what can be done to fix them or to change them. And that seemed very interesting and appealing to me. And so I got a degree in environmental studies. And as a part of that college experience, I also worked through a service learning scholarship called the Bonner Scholars Program. I was required to do essentially 10 hours of service work each week for all 4 years of college, and then a summer program as well in order to help pay for school. And as a part of that, I bounced around and did a lot of different things, like working for some community organizations, working in schools, doing some conservation work. But my last year and a half, I spent working in City Hall and working in the planning department. And through that process, I sort of melded my interest of sort of institutional decision making and how change happens at the local level. And so I guess I sort of became infatuated with local government and felt like that was the place that I wanted to spend at least my next few years. So between graduating and ending up in Evanston, it took me about 2 years doing a variety of different things, some of it freelance carpentry, some work in the service industry, a little bit of pleasure traveling. But I knew that entire time that the type of job I was looking for was something that melded sustainability and municipal government. I didn't know that the sustainability coordinator position or chief sustainability officer positions existed in local government. And so I was fortunate enough 2 years out of college to be offered a job here in Evanston as an entry-level position. And then was also in an opportunity put in a place last year to accept the coordinator level position. And so I think that I have thought a lot about this type of work for most of my adult life prior to entering this position. I just didn't necessarily know that this type of position existed or this type of opportunity was available. And so I hesitate to say I'm in my dream job, but I often have a hard time listing things that I'm not excited to do in my work here with the city and with some of our projects. It's of course can be frustrating, but I think the combination of transparency, getting to work with a lot of different professionals and understanding how this, or trying to understand how local governments sort of operate and why they make decisions is incredibly fascinating. And I think provides a lot of insight into why certain decisions are made and how that impacts lots of things, but also how that impacts our ability to be more sustainable. So thanks.
Thank you, Kumar. Drew.
Okay. Hey, everybody. So maybe my path was a little bit more straightforward than some of the other panelists. Kind of like Kumar, I grew up in Vancouver, Canada, which is well known for environmental activism and the green movement. So I like to think that sustainability was kind of ingrained in me from a young age. But I did end up moving to Arizona. And in 2002, I started at the School of Sustainability at Arizona State University. So it's one of the first schools that were kind of advertising, a sustainability degree, and I'm sure they're more common now. But back in 2008, that was still fairly a new concept, and it was a great program, a great time. So shout out to ASU. I liked it so much, actually, that when I graduated in 2010, I went straight through to my master's degree in sustainability, so kind of double dip to get more solutions-based experience. And through my master's degree, I kind of focused more on sustainability and public policy. And at that time, I was really interested, and still am, about how local government can kind of pick up the slack and really be a reflection of what their residents want, and more so kind of in line with when there may be policy failings at the federal level, how local government can kind of step up and lead the way. So that was always an interest of mine. When I was doing my master's degree, I worked on a project called Energize Phoenix, which was a $25 million Department of Energy grant during the ARA stimulus time. And so we worked with the city of Phoenix, Arizona State University, and the local utility to retrofit buildings and our commercial buildings and homes along our light rail system for energy efficiency. So that was a great experience and led to me getting a job at the city of Phoenix as an urban planner. So kind of a little bit along the same lines as what Doug was talking about. It seems to be there's some similarities on how some people got their start in the planning department and were able to kind of move into sustainability. So when I worked for the city of Phoenix, I was doing planning and was able to move over to the city of Avondale in 2014 to become the environmental and sustainability program manager. And it's an amazing, amazing job. I love coming to work because of the interdisciplinary aspects of the job. You know, you get to work with all different departments, from facilities to finance to, you know, even the fire and police department. So you really kind of, no day is the same. It's always something different, which I really enjoy. And so we've been working on our sustainability plan since 2014. It's only me currently. So in the future, I'd like to grow our staff as our population grows. Local governments here in Maricopa County, where Phoenix and Avondale are located, have a big role to play in the sustainability of the region, because Maricopa County is growing so fast. A lot of people are moving here, and we're building a lot of housing, and we're packing people in. So we need to be cognizant and think ahead to, you know, what the future holds for our area, especially in terms of long-term water availability, as well as warming trends. You know, it's a hot area already, and it's only going to get hotter. So we need to be thinking about that. So I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Drew. So it's wonderful to hear the diversity of experience and the diverse paths that you've all taken to get to where you are now. The one thing you all have in common is you have an ISP credentials. In fact, you know, you're trailblazers in that regard, since it's a fairly new credential. So, you know, maybe you could each speak to why you decided to get the ISSP credential and what sort of feedback you've gotten from other people now that you have it.
Well, this is Doug. You know, I think there's numerous reasons. I mean, I think being a, you know, basically a planner, you know, AICP, we never sort of held the same ability. I don't want to, I'm trying to figure out what words I want to use, or, you know, level of professional recognition as a certified engineer. And so I think, you know, being able to be part of an organization that's developing a standard for what it means to be a sustainability professional is important, because I think you know, anybody who's been working in the field long enough knows, particularly with a slippery word like sustainability, anybody can say that they do it, and you know, is there any base knowledge behind it to provide assurances to a community or a business that you're working with, that you know what you're talking about. So there's that. I think the other thing that's really interesting to me is, you know, I've been in municipal government for 15 years, lots of connections in planning and sustainability. throughout municipal governments, but really don't have great connections or even understanding of private sector and the business community. And it's quite frankly a whole different language. And so, one, going through the certification process is really getting me trained and up to speed as far as, what that looks like and the language used to, help me not only professionally in the future, but help make better connections with our local business community as well as the broader international community. So I look at it as there's multiple benefits to participating in ISSP.
This is Jonathan. I guess I'll take a stab at this one. If I got to be brutally honest with the group here, I think one of the main reasons I was attracted to the credential from ISSP is I really value education, but I just am not like an institutional education type person, just going to classes and taking tests and writing papers and all that stuff. Just never sat with me really well. So, considering I appreciate the value of education, like I said, and that I do want to continue to enhance my my knowledge, my understanding, as well as my reputation as a professional. Credentials and certifications is really where I've been focusing my attention for the last 5 years or so. I've got a couple other certifications, and when the ISSP one came about, it just seemed like it was a great opportunity for me to verify the experiences that I'd had to date. A lot of dealings with the sustainability field in a lot of different sectors, and I felt like I had a great understanding of what was going on in the industry. And taking the exam, getting certified, and now participating in the network, I've really that confirmed that I'm doing what I need to be doing to be the best I can be in the sustainability field. And certainly the value of, since I've joined up, has been just participating in the network, joining up, with ongoing webinars that are being hosted, or, even participating in some of the courses that they offer. ISSP has a great network of like-minded individuals that I've really enjoyed getting to know a lot of these people. And, even the regional learning network that we're starting up here in Texas, and I know a lot of other regions around the country are getting off the ground now. I'm able to work with local professionals on, kind of hot topics in our areas. And so that's been a really great networking opportunity. So the credential is more than just the ability to say I have some, level of knowledge. It's participating in this bigger community, and trying to work collectively to build some consensus among other professionals in the field, and just to help strengthen, what we're all trying to do on any given day.
Yeah, this is Kumar. I guess I'd just add two things. When I was thinking about the process and whether or not to apply and take the exam, I have a Bachelor of Arts. I don't have a master's degree, and I don't anticipate pursuing a master's or other higher degrees. And so I was looking for something to help sort of bolster the external validation of my experience in my work. And so a professional credential like ISSP seemed quite appropriate. I think it also, although I am, I think, pretty committed, at least in the short term, to staying in the municipal government realm, it also felt attractive because if I do switch fields, there might be some translatability there, or there certainly is some translatability there with the credential, as it's not, municipally specific or local government specific. The other piece that was appealing was, something that I felt I got a lot out of my undergraduate experience, which was sort of getting a shared knowledge base and being able to confer with peers and sort of come in with a base level of understanding. And so I think that this type of credentialing process allows that as well. And so taking the exam, I was able to sort of recall a lot of information from my undergraduate experience, but also learn some new stuff. And it did make me feel like I had a sort of a stronger base or knowledge base for some of the work that I'm doing day to day, and that knowledge base is shared among other ISSP members, which is certainly helpful in networking and sort of knowing where other people are coming from and what their level of understanding is.
All right. Hey, this is Drew. I'd like to echo something that Doug mentioned. I mean, if you're not currently working in sustainability for local government and you get your job, most likely you're going to join some sort of development review team. You're going to be associated with planning in some way. And, the planners are AICP, the engineers are PEs. And so for me, it was kind of, trying to get some certification that demonstrates your value as a sustainability professional. So kind of having a seat at that table and proving, that you know your stuff. A lot of times in cities, especially smaller cities like us, you're alone. Like the sustainability person is a one-man shop or a half-time position maybe. And so I think there's a lot of value in getting the credential and joining the network in terms of networking potential is also from the perspective of hearing what other people are doing and kind of not feeling like you're your own island out there. I think it's important for thinking about your next step for your job. So if you have a kind of a different degree that isn't sustainability related, maybe it's planning, maybe it's environmental science, and this is a great way to kind of bolster to your next hiring manager that you've taken the initiative to take that sustainability job, and you've shown your interest and you've shown that you're committed to doing it. So it's kind of a resume booster in that way. I think the educational events are great. The educational webinars like this one and more focused ones on actual topical subjects are great. So that's a good opportunity to learn more about what others are doing. And the local chapters, networking with other local members is a great opportunity as well. So all those things are kind of reasons why I chose to get the certification, and so far it's been great. So back to you, Maureen.
Thanks so much. So, we're starting to get some questions in the chat box. So if people are, have questions for the panelists, please put them in there, and we're going to be going through and picking up on them. A couple of the questions have to do with what did it take to pass the exam? So any of you have any comments about what you did to prepare for it? There seems to be a lot of interest in that. How long did you study? What did you study? How did you decide what to study? And have you have some ideas?
Yeah, this is Doug. And so, there's ISSP materials that basically provide a lot of information about what to expect. I, in all honesty, didn't spend a lot of time studying. I think sort of there's clearly things that were new to me from the business sector side, which I focused on. But for the sustainability associate exam, it wasn't. If you've been in the field, I think it's something you can handle. I'm planning on taking the certified sustainability professional exam. I have that scheduled. That's a different story. That's a lot more comprehensive, and so that's requiring a lot more studying. But the initial exam, there are materials there, and it wasn't too onerous.
This is Jonathan. I agree with everything Doug said. I would just add that one of the resources that ISSP has are their flashcards to help studying, and I think they're it was pretty affordable. It was a small fee to be able to download those, and I just downloaded them, printed them off, and spent a week or so just kind of going through those at my leisure, and that gave me everything I needed to pass the essay exam.
This is Drew. I would agree with the past statements. Also, we've been noticing through some of the other networks not associated with ISSP that people are kind of getting together to do study groups. So I think that's a great idea. And I know back when I was at ASU, people kind of had informal study groups to do LEED Green Associate, certifications. So if you have networks already in place that aren't ISSP and you're interested in getting the SA credential, then I would recommend kind of looking out to see if other people in your area are interested to study along with you.
Yeah, so actually this is more, I'm going to chime in a little bit. Some feedback that I've gotten, obviously we can't tell any individual how long it's going to take you to study for the exam, but you should check out on the website, we have the candidate handbook, and the appendix to that has what's called the exam content outline. So it lists the topics that are covered in the exam. One piece of feedback I've gotten from some people, it seems like people who are just getting out of college, out of an MBA program or a sustainability master's program or something like that, tend to have less studying required just because it's so fresh. And some of the people that have been doing it for longer have told me they've put more time into studying it. Although, as Doug mentioned, he found that some things he knew, and then he looked at the exam content outline and, there's some things that he hadn't looked at recently or wasn't aware of. Particularly if you've been in one industry for a while, there may be some things outside that, and then you can decide which of those things you want to spend some time studying on. And yes, we do have a couple of our regional learning networks are starting some study groups. So if you're in one of those regions, you could probably get involved with that. I'm wondering if, one of the things that, particularly in local government, because your audience is such a broad audience, it's not like you're in one industry and so you're just working within that. When you're in local government, you're dealing with people in all industries because they're all part of your community. And so I'm just wondering the extent to which having a credential has an impact on your ability to talk to those people in your community. Any of you have any comments on that?
This is Doug. Not yet. I mean, I think the first thing I'm getting is people are saying, "What's that?" And then taking the time to explain it. I think, as we're developing, we're the initial stages of developing our climate action plan and engaging with the business community. I think there'll be more opportunities to have that discussion and hopefully bring that credential as confirmation that I at least have an understanding of what their perspective is. So I think that's my hope in that regard with it.
Yeah, this is Drew. Just to add on to Doug's thought there, you're gonna get, when you get your job in local government, or if you're working already, I'm sure you're gonna get people just saying, what is that? What is sustainability? And so more so than any other job at City Hall, you kind of have to do a lot of explaining. So you're gonna spend a lot of time doing that. And if you're not comfortable just kind of being confident and explaining what sustainability is in the kind of foundational concepts, or even what it means to you, then you're going to want to take this credential class, because the essay is all about communicating sustainability confidently. So I would definitely highly recommend it if you're in a public facing role where you're going to get those questions, and I guarantee they're going to come in fast and furious. then I would highly recommend having a common set of language and, being able to confidently explain what it is you're doing.
So another question I wanted to ask the four of you, since you're all involved with you're all members of USD on the Urban Sustainability Directors Network, and you're involved with the STAR communities, the extent to which the work that you're doing is connecting with other communities, but also connecting with other sustainability professionals within your communities. Are you finding that there are a lot of sustainability professionals in your communities who are not working in local government? And to what extent do you connect with them?
Yeah, this is Kumar. I think through our climate action planning process, sort of within Evanston, we were leading that process through a group of appointed community members, so it's a 17-member board. And when the mayor put out the call for those applicants to fill that position, we had 70 people apply for what we thought were going to be 12 spots, and now it has 17. And so through that process, I've found myself interacting with and becoming much more aware of the sort of vast knowledge base that exists in Evanston related to sustainability and sort of all of the many facets of that. And so there are a lot of people here in Evanston who work professionally in some capacity in the sustainability field. Most of them not, the vast majority of them are not in municipal government at all. And so that's certainly been an interesting perspective as a staff person, knowing sort of what specialized knowledge exists already out there within the community and how that can complement what resources the city has.
This is Drew. I think that's a really good point, and I just kind of wanted to add on to that. If you're not in local government now, but you're interested in it, most cities have environmental type commissions, kind of what Kumar was talking about. I know we have one here, and it's always a struggle to get people, our residents, to come out and participate in those boards and commissions. So a great way, if you're looking to break into municipal sustainability, is join the commission for your local town and start asking the questions. If you have sustainability plan, can you explain it to me? And if you don't, you can start working as a board member to kind of push that municipality to start doing more and start asking the questions. So I think that's a good point.
Jonathan here. I have another thought too. When we say a sustainability professional, and this is probably true for most of the panelists, as we've kind of discussed previously, we all work on a lot of different subject matters on any given day, whether we're working with energy or waste or water, transportation issues. It gets really comprehensive, I think, in local government, and having just a single individual working on all sustainability issues. But the fact of the matter is that no matter where you live, there are going to be people, professionals that are working on very specific aspects of sustainability. So I go to a lot of different conferences and workshops, and there's a lot of different folks that have just their speciality. They have their little niche, and maybe they're just focused on energy efficiency in buildings, or maybe they're just focused on watershed protection. But all these different professions, they all relate back to the bigger picture of sustainability, and if we can kind of coordinate with all those different groups and come together and start creating collaborative opportunities where there's benefits from one issue that overlay to another issue, I think that's where the future lies for a lot of us, is trying to build those bridges between the issues that fall under the sustainability umbrella. And, once you start talking about the realm of professionals in all those different fields, you can find people all over the place in your community to collaborate with.
There's a question in the chat box that actually looks at that similar topic from a slightly different slant. Someone wants to know, what advice do you have for someone who's already has many years of experience in local government, who wants to get into the sustainability field? Any suggestions for them? So that what you've been talking about is how someone in sustainability can get involved in local government. But what if they're already in local government? How can they transition their careers to sustainability? Any thoughts on that?
Well, this is Doug, and that's a great question, and I don't know if there's a perfect answer. I think you can, if you're in a position to try to do what I did, just sort of create it. Had some sort of, I think the key is finding out where the city leadership is, and if there's some sort of green light, take the initiative yourself. And so I had created this office, smoke and mirrors, there's nothing official, and next thing, I know it's being, incorporated into minutes and at council meetings, and there's a downside because you don't have any resources, but that's besides the point. The other thing is finding out what other, as was mentioned by another panelist, what other sustainability efforts are going on. It may not be called sustainability. It could be water, conservation. It could be working on, air quality, and see if you could start, breaking down silos and figuring out how your work can support that work. I think so much of what sustainability is, like the first thing I said, is really about enabling others and working with others to do their work in a more sustainable or efficient manner. And the trick with it is you don't get any of the glory. You're behind the scenes, but that might be a good start. And then also looking for other, as was mentioned, other community partners that are working on sustainability issues. I mean, there's the opportunities are there. It's how do you take advantage of them and also do the rest of your work.
Yeah, this is Kumar. I just would certainly echo Doug's point about sort of understanding if you're looking to get involved, if you're in municipal government but you're not doing sustainability work and you're interested in staying within the same organization and transition into doing sustainability work, I think it really having a good handle on where a city leadership is and where time and energy is needed to be spent and how those resources are being shifted. There are almost always changes and reorganizations happening in most local governments, and so those can oftentimes be opportunities if you have the ear of a city manager or a department head or a council member or whoever it may be, to be able to talk about or articulate either your work in a different framing or talk about sort of new needs or existing needs that you could help fill that could also overlap with your interest in sustainability. So I think a lot of it is about, if you're talking about staying in the same organization, a lot of it is about understanding how those decisions are made and figuring out how to be part of that process without jeopardizing your existing position, which is incredibly tricky.
I would also add, this is Drew, that if you're in local government and you currently don't have the sustainability program, is be the person to see if you can start your internal green team, because you'll be surprised at the people who will be interested in kind of meeting once a month or every other month to talk about sustainability, even if you might not have a sustainability program. And we've had great success with kind of hosting educational speakers on different topics, from recycling, bringing our own recycling coordinator in to talk about our green waste pickup, things like that to get people excited. And you can kind of start building that way and start getting known as the sustainability person, even if that position doesn't exist yet. And I think you'll start to find that you can start seeing connections across the silos from the different people that show up to your meetings, and you can start demonstrating value by connecting those pieces together in a way that might not have been happening in other ways. Like if you have public works coming and you're in engineering and you learn about different projects that they're doing that you might not have heard about, and you can demonstrate value, it's a good way to do it.
That relates to another question that someone asked in the chat box. Although I know all of you are in more urban areas, this person was asking, one of the differences or special challenges that might happen in developing sustainability initiatives in rural areas where, actually the person said where economic initiatives or limitations take all the air out of the room. So one comment I would have is some of the things they've already talked about are things that might be already happening in the rural communities, things around energy efficiency or specific topics where you don't have to necessarily call it sustainability, but you can start working on it. Do any of the four of you have other ideas about how people can bring in sustainability into a more rural area, if that's where they happen to be?
Yeah, and this is Doug, and it's the same issue here, and I think it's probably consistent with every community how you talk about it. I think it's finding out about what resonates with the community. So here in San Antonio, I think if you were to ask the average person on the street about sustainability, or if we even had a sustainability office, they'd have no idea. But if you ask them about water, they'll understand water conservation and they'll understand drought and heat. So I think it's finding those levers that are important to the community. I think the one thing that rural communities have a disadvantage at, and whether it's sustainability or my experience with planning, is its resources. Sustainability requires somebody to sort of coordinate and pull all the pieces together and track and report. And I would think smaller communities have less resources. Here in San Antonio, we have a staff of 8, which is great. I'm not complaining about it, but there's bigger cities that have staff of 100. But I could see if it's one person trying to do this, and I think Kumar, you said, was it you that you were just one person? It's a lot of work, and so I think it's looking for partnerships with other municipalities that already have offices. I think it's a tough question, but I think the key is really looking at what's important to the community as a starting point.
Yeah, this is Kumar. I think I'm just going to say a similar thing that Doug just said, but it's sort of a different phrasing that, just understanding, how people are talking about things and what challenges the community is facing, and how you can dovetail or help address those challenges while moving the needle on sustainability projects. And so just an example here in Evanston is that affordable housing is incredibly hot button issue, and it has been for a while, and it's holding the council's attention, and I think will for quite some time. And so as we think about our new climate action goals and what we want to do as it relates to building energy usage, for example, one area that there seems to be movement and already changes in the city's code and programs has to do with affordable housing. And so one of the areas that there's a lot of interest is how we can reduce energy consumption and increase building performance in affordable housing units. And so that is an opportunity for me to integrate some of my sort of sustainability goals into an existing area that already has momentum, that's already going to happen on its own without me doing anything. And so I would try to look for similar types of initiatives if there's not a whole lot going on or there's resistance. Try to combine with something that's maybe already going to happen, regardless of sort of its sustainability components, and try to figure out how to integrate with that type of project.
Thank you. We only have another minute left, so I want to answer a couple of the specific questions people were asking about getting the credential. People were asking whether or not they needed to take ISSP's Sustainability 101 class or any of the other training, and the answer is no. As my panelists here explained, some of them just studied for it on their own. We do have a study guide that's available. We do have education partners. Someone asked specifically about Everblue. They are one of our education partners, so you can take a course from them if you're looking for help to get trained in it. There are no degree requirements. You don't have to have a sustainability degree of any kind to take the ISSP Sustainability Associate exam. For the Certified Sustainability Professional credential, you do need to have experience in the field, and you have to be able to show that and have letters of reference related to that. That's to get the certified professional credential, but you don't need that for the sustainability associate. So those are the few questions that were there. I'm actually just going to flip through. We have all of these slides will be available to you all. We'll send them out after that, but this is just an overview of the demographics of the people who've taken the exam and passed it to date in both the associate and the professional categories. The exam is $175 if you are an ISSP member, and you also get discounts on the study material and many of the other things that are available through ISSP. If you have more questions, please visit the website, and you should check out the candidate handbook. As I mentioned, we do have a frequently asked questions section and an overview web page. And if you don't find your answers there, please give us an email. Send us an email at certification@sustainabilityprofessionals.org. I want to thank all of our panelists very much. Appreciate your taking the time to talk with us today, and look forward to future conversations. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.